9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Do you have constitutional questions? Get constitutional answers. We'll be answering your constitutional questions live, so get ready to call in now. Are you a prosecutor, law enforcement officer, or local government employee? Want to make sure you are executing the laws in a constitutional manner? Are you a city council member, township board member, or state legislator? Want to ensure the laws you pass are constitutional? Perhaps you're a citizen who wants to know the proper limits on government and the protections for your God-given liberties. Regardless of your role, call me, Constitutional Attorney Catherine Henry, with your constitutional questions during our live call-in show now at the phone number listed on the screen. And remember, together we can restore freedom.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I'm having some technical glitches on my side, everyone. So please tell me if things look all right on your end. If you could see me in the little side here, and then if you're seeing the live chat, maybe I should try to make that a little bit bigger. See if I can make that bigger for you guys. Of course, it's not going to cooperate. Come on, come on. Oh, wow. Okay, that made it. That made it a lot different in size, but let's see if I can make it so I can read it a little bit. Okay, so anyway, let's see. Yep, you're up and running. Okay, so hello everyone. Good evening. I'm Constitutional Attorney Catherine Henry. Let's see here. I'm gonna forget all my things that I got to do now because we've had to switch how many softwares we use about every 5 minutes. But anyway, all right, now I'm starting to get buttons that I need. I don't know why it raises up when I put text at the top. That's so dumb, but whatever. It is what it is. Let's see. Bill. Hi, Bill. Bill is somebody I see in the YouTube chat. And, oh, let me see here. I guess I can go back and see. I forgot that I have the ability to see the face if anybody's commenting on Facebook. But yeah, it doesn't look like anybody is. Let me know if you're watching on Facebook. Shoot us a quick message. Just say hi. That way I'll see that it's coming from Facebook, and I'll know that we are, in fact, live on Facebook and not having any kind of issues there. But anyway, so Bill is somebody that I've known since the beginning of our most recent freedom fight that started in 2020. And let's see. Looks like we got a good, healthy chat going. Hello to everyone there. Freedom Check, John, A Pig's Daughter, Chris Mike, Jay Curvitt, let's see, Gabriel, whole bunch of people. If I missed you, hello to all of you anyway. So hello and hello and welcome. All right, and let's see here if it's going to, I don't know what it's doing. It's having fun with me. Anyway, it was giving me some glitches. Oh, okay. It looks like we have 3 of you commenting. Thank you, Terry. So we have Jerry and Terry and Lori all on Facebook. So thanks for joining us there. And yes, you can call in when I go ahead and get that up in just a second. So anyway, tonight what I want to do is, last week we ended up having, I don't even know what happened. I gave you guys the, not last week, but 2 weeks ago in our noon show, we ended up, I gave you guys some updates on the case and our Ormond Beach case. And then I ended up answering tons of questions that were coming in from the live chat. And people weren't really starting to try to call in until after I was like, well, mentally done at that point and just needed to go eat and go to bed. But tonight we will do actual calls. So I'm going to put the phone number up in just a second. Just wanted to give you guys some quick updates on the Ormond Beach case for those of you that have been kind of watching along and following for a while now. The court, let's see, when did I do the show? I did the show, okay, so that would have been Tuesday. So the court ended up on Thursday. So by Tuesday at some point, they had accepted my petition, they accepted my appendix, they were not accepting the notice of constitutional question, all of which were required under the court rules here in Florida. And so I kept trying to send that in. It was like 4 times, I think. And they finally accepted that. And then Wednesday that week, 2 weeks ago, seemed all fine and dandy. Thursday, however, I get a notice from the court. I want to say it was like 11:30 in the morning that they were striking my documents from the record. They were keeping my notice of constitutional question, but they were striking my petition and my appendix and wanted me to jump through even more hoops. And one of the biggest things, I guess you could say, that they wanted me to do was take out any pictures or graphics that I had put right into my brief or petition, is what it's called in this situation. And it's very interesting because many courts across the country are actually encouraging attorneys or pro se parties to include pictures or graphics, not just to throw anything in there, but something that's of meaning and has value. And the ones I did were very purposeful. I worked very hard at including them. It wasn't new evidence. It was a way to put into a visual cue what we've been arguing about in words for quite a while. And actually the points that I put in there, they don't even argue those points. They just, the city and the prior judge and the prior magistrate had just ignored those points. I figured I don't want this court to ignore them, so I'm going to put them into a visual representation and get that conversation going. But the court clerk issued an order striking my documents and requiring me to remove those and only have them in my appendix. So I'm really bummed about that, but I did put a footnote on the front page, the cover sheet of my petition, letting the court know that I was court ordered to remove those documents or those images and graphics from my document, and that essentially letting them know, hey, I want you to rethink this. By the way, I can send you another copy, another version that has those in there if you're interested. But at any rate, we'll see what they say. In the meantime, though, I worked the whole rest of that day. I mean, it took me hours. I had to redo page numbers. It messed with some formatting. There were internal links that I had within the document that linked to some of those very pages that had the graphics or the images on them. So man, it was a nightmare trying to figure that out. And I did it. I worked on it the whole rest of the day. And once Mike was home from work, he helped me. And it was probably 10:30, 11 o'clock at night that I was like, okay, I think it's done. And we got it filed. We got the petition, the amended petition filed. We got the amended appendix that goes with that. It has all the supporting documents. It's like 520 pages. That's all, it was updated, uploaded, good to go, and got that filed late that Thursday night. So just 2 nights after our last show. Then by Friday, the court, I want to say late morning, maybe right around lunchtime, gave me the notice that they had docketed those documents. So yay, those are on the docket. You can see them on the court's docket now. You'll see the second amended petition and you'll see the appendix, both of which are now what you see when you go to my own website, restorefreedomkh.com/obcase. You'll be able to see those documents. In fact, I'm going to go, let's see, do I have it on here? There we go. If you go to this link, that's where you'll be able to see, scroll down, most of the way down, maybe 3/4 or so down the page, and you'll be able to see the newest ones on there. If you see the post from the original post I made from the original documents I uploaded, those documents are still there. You can review those, the one that has the petition that has the images in that and the appendix that goes with it. You can still see them, but the easy links to them on that page on the website, it's changed. So it's just making it easy for you to know what documents we're all talking about going forward. There's some additional documents that I had to file since I filed that on the 11th. The U.S. Supreme Court came out with some cases that were very helpful in my case. And then while I had been writing the brief, but after the period of time where I had stopped researching and printing new cases, they had also issued another one. And so anyway, I had to file what's called a notice of supplemental authority. If you do our Tuesday true or false question, that's a hint for you because you have 3 more hours to get on there and answer that before the answer is posted. But anyway, so I went ahead and I did that. I filed that. I believe I put that on the website already. If I didn't, I'll put it on there soon. In the meantime, I filed a motion down in the circuit court for a stay to push pause on the orders because I shouldn't have to have all my property seized and sold while we're, hashing out these details, waiting to hear from that. And then I also filed last week a motion down in the magistrate's court for my costs, for my appeals costs, because we won one of the big issues that the city can't physically come on our property and tear up our pavers, our privacy fence, and take out our 2 shipping containers from our backyard. So we won on at least one of the big issues. So I get my costs awarded to me. Now that court is not acknowledging my motion, not even acknowledging it, let alone ruling on it. I hope they're going to do the right thing, but it's been a week and they haven't even acknowledged it. But what they did do is they set it for another hearing. We are, yes, set in front of the magistrate for yet another hearing on May 20th. And the notice of hearing doesn't even say what it's about. It's really awesome. It just has the same 3 case file numbers. But when I asked them for clarification in an email, the city attorney replied that it is in fact them trying to basically get a redo on the fines part because let me just put it this way. They know they messed up now. And they realized that they didn't issue 2 separate orders like they were supposed to, and they try to do it all in one. So they're trying to cover their bases, but then they're trying to backdate the fines that we would owe, even though the judge in the circuit court had those fines stayed for 334 days. They can't recover that just because they're issuing a whole new order. Anyway, it's 2 bites at the same apple. So that's where we're at. And the next best part, I forgot to mention. I'm so excited I can't even use all my words. Is that after the court docketed our documents, they have docketed everything I've submitted now, at least in the Court of Appeals. The April 12th, they also issued an order requiring the city of Ormond Beach to respond in our newest appeal. And they have only 20 days to do so. And next Thursday is the cutoff date for that 20 days. And then I have 10 days to file a reply brief. So anyway, that's the update on that. So I'm going to go ahead and switch here. And let's see. Let's see. It looks like Disabled Outcast, KH, love you, appreciate your time and wealth of knowledge. Really liked the intro. I hope she lives up to it. I definitely live up to my intro, if that's what you're talking about. We have a new person phased. Welcome to the show. So let's see. Yeah, gag order. Well, I did have a court do that to me in a different state. Unconstitutionally, and that's another story for another day. Not that I haven't done videos on that. All right, I knew it wouldn't take long. Oh, I closed the wrong thing. Hold on. Let's see here. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello, I'm calling.
Yes. Oh, I'm hearing my echo. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, hold on. Let me turn you off from my Bluetooth speaker. Okay, you there?
Yes. Yes. What is your name?
Kristen?
Did you say Kristen?
Yeah.
Okay. And where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Arizona.
Okay. So, what constitutional or legal issue did you call about tonight?
I was just calling on behalf of my father who's in prison right now. We're going through his appeal, and I was wondering if and how we can use how his constitutional rights were violated for his appeal.
Okay. And what rights do you think, in a nutshell, I mean, I realize it's probably a long, complicated story, but as short as you can, what rights do you think were violated?
Well, the Mesa Police planted drugs on him. I don't know if you saw DirecTV's video.
I did not.
He's actually one that referred me to you.
Okay. So they planted drugs on him. Were there any other rights? I mean, obviously that's a big one, but I mean, was there anything else, or was that the main issue?
Yeah, they used excessive force big time, and they put their knee in his neck and cut off his breathing.
Oh, because that worked so well in George Floyd's case.
They denied him medical attention twice, and the second time that they did, he almost died. He had a blood infection.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm just making myself notes here. And then planted drugs on him. Okay. And does he have an attorney?
He has a public defender now, but he doesn't have any trust in them because he also had ineffective assistance of counsel. His attorney for his trial promised him, he was promising him that he would win the trial. And I'm like, that seems unethical for an attorney to promise something, you know?
Oh yeah, it's extremely unethical for an attorney to promise an outcome in any kind of case. Absolutely. So he's at the stage now where he's had a trial. And when was the verdict reached?
Back in May of 2022, but he got sentenced December of last year.
Okay. So one of the things you need to be aware of is that in order to have some sort of an appeal, there's generally a period of time that you have to raise issues. Now, some things, for example, like a subject matter jurisdiction claim, like if it's a court, like a bankruptcy court was trying to convict your dad of some sort of crime, that's not what they can do, right? They don't have jurisdiction over those kinds of cases. So that's something he could always raise, down the road and say, no, that judgment is void against me. But generally speaking, I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm not saying it feels constitutional, but the way that they do it is that you have a set period of time, and I don't know what it is in Arizona, but when we're done here tonight, if you want to go to my website, type in the word appeal, and you'll see a bunch of documents, but you'll also see several videos where I talk about different kinds of aspects of appeals. Now, the specifics are often geared towards Florida or Michigan, but I do give you some examples of the kinds of terms that you want to search for and things that you'd be looking for in your own state's court rules, and different laws and things like that, the kinds of questions to ask. So definitely check those out. Some of those are longer videos. Some of those are only 8 or 10-minute videos. So check all those out. Right. But so you have a time frame, and my guess is that there's a fair chance at this point that it's too far along for him to raise an appeal on, the underlying criminal act. However, being denied medical treatment and those kinds of things, that sounds like a potential civil claim that he can raise, not tied to his original charge. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
So Yeah, so I don't know anything about, Arizona specific state laws, but I would start looking at, Googling some search terms. Now be careful because obviously Google is full of a lot of things that are not true. Um,
Yeah.
but what you might want to do is actually start with Google Scholar, which is, I think, scholar.google.com. And
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I'm in school myself to get my bachelor's in law studies.
okay, so check that out. And there's at the very beginning, you select, it's worded kind of stupid, but you select articles, or you can select case law, which is not a thing. But anyway, select cases, but then click the options to change your jurisdictions. And then it gives you different things that you can search for. So you can narrow it down and make sure you're only looking at, now you can always look at the US Supreme Court. And then you should figure out what circuit you're in for the US Court of Appeals for federal courts of appeal. I don't know what circuit that is, but you find out if you're in the 8th Circuit or whatever, then you can make sure that's checked as well. And then it'll also allow you to check Arizona state courts. And I think it only would do the Supreme Court of your state and then the courts of appeal for your state. It doesn't go below that. But anyway, if you start typing in things like prisoner medical care, or just try to think of all kinds of different search terms about those kinds of things, then you're going to start finding some results. And it might take you a few different search terms to get there, but once you get there, then you're going to start seeing one case after another. And when you get a result, then make sure if it seems like it even remotely is on point, then make sure you're right clicking on any cases, any blue hyperlinked cases that one refers to, and you're following up and reading what those other cases say as well. Because I've actually found some of the best cases to refer to for my briefs and things, not from the initial hits, not from the initial search results, but from the things that I followed the rabbit trail down, and I was reading one case, then another, and then another, and then I'm like, bam, here we go, jackpot. This is exactly what I was looking for.
Right.
So
okay, and I had another brief question. So I was given the suggestion of hiring a paralegal to assist him because he's self-represented right now. Do you suggest that, or I don't know what you would recommend?
to hire a paralegal? Is that what the question is?
Yeah, to not represent us, but to basically do all the legal research and what they're allowed to do, basically.
That's interesting. I've never had somebody ask me that before. I don't know what the rules are in Arizona for what attorneys can do and what paralegals could do and things like that. You might want to try a legal clinic at a law school, where it's law school students who can't practice on their own per se, but they might have clinics where they have, prisoner rights or things of that nature. That they could help get the ball rolling on things. And then you might decide, maybe there's a way that they can go ahead and just take over representation, or maybe there's a way they can just come alongside him and assist him on being able to do some research and give him some initial information so that he can then turn around and comb through on his own and figure out how he wants to put it together. So try that. That would be honestly my number one thing. I did a lot of clinical work when I was in law school. And so it could be a phenomenal thing. Paralegals in general, it can be good, but again, I don't know what the state specifics are for Arizona, but when I had my law firm in Michigan, I had at different locations, I had different branches of my law firm at different points. And I had paralegals, sometimes that were, they had earned an actual law degree, not just a college degree or an associate's, but they had a bachelor's and they had a law degree, but they just weren't licensed attorneys. I had paralegals that had basically just a paralegal certificate and not a full bachelor's. I mean, a wide range of in between. And I think my oldest paralegal, when I hired her, I think she was 73. And August was, in their 20s. So just, wide range of different people. But what I can tell you is that I was the one that was teaching them how to do research. And,
Right.
with the exception of the one who was, had her own law degree, everybody else, I was the one teaching them. So without them having an attorney that they're, really working under for a particular case, I don't know that I would trust having somebody else do the research and then I'm just kind of like pulling things together. Now, again, I'm also an attorney, so I trust my own abilities to do research. But if he has limited resources or limited time or whatever, and anything would be better than nothing for help in that sense,
Right.
maybe. Now, one thing I do want to caution you on, when I talked about Google Scholar, the one thing I forgot to tell you is that it doesn't do what LexisNexis calls shepherdizing. It doesn't tell you if the case is still good or if it's been overturned by some other case. So
I know that with the school I'm in, I believe I have access to LexisNexis, I believe.
Okay, so you might want to look. You might even want to do all your research right in LexisNexis. It's been too many years since I've used it. I have a different thing that is provided to me through the State Bar of Michigan, an off-brand, if you will. But it just, that for me, it takes so long for stuff to load that I do all my initial research right in Google Scholar first, and then if I need to double check things, then I go into that other software. So
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think I got your questions answered.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck. And, if you are able to make some headway on this and you want to call back and let us know how things are going, we'd love to hear.
Oh, yeah, I most definitely will. Thank you.
Yes, have a great night.
Tell Directy I said thank you as well.
Okay, sounds good. All right,
bye.
bye. All right, guys, so I'm going to throw that number back on the screen. All right, I think I got the right thing. My contacts got super blurry all of a sudden. I have one contact blurry anyway, which makes everything blurry. So I think I'm pressing all the right buttons. But that number to call in is 616-303-0093. So go ahead and give us a call if you have any questions. I'm going to try to go back to the live chat. I don't know why it does this. Why does this do this? Okay, it looks like there's been quite a chat going on. And Joy4118 says, Catherine sounds honest. I'll tell you what, I am honest. I don't have anything to hide. And I can tell you a lot of attorneys, unfortunately, are not honest. And a lot of government officials are not honest. But quite a few attorneys and quite a few government officials also just don't know what the heck they're doing. And then you unfortunately have some that combine the two of not being honest and not know what they're doing. And then they really screw people's rights over. So yes, I'm definitely someone who tries to counterbalance that. All right. Hello, caller from the 603 area code. What is your name? Oh, did it work? Hello, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. And what is your name?
My name is Gabriel.
Oh, are you the guy from New Hampshire?
I am. How you doing?
Oh, I am doing good. I'm just going to make myself a note here and press a button because I had another caller calling in at that exact time. All right, and I got to switch a button on here before I forget so people don't continue to call in while you're on. Okay. All right, so how are things going in New Hampshire?
The same as before. I mean, it's a slow winning battle, but things are changing. Actually, I was calling because your advice with the appeals process and so forth really helped. And I was kind of stumped when I'm seeing, you have so many subs, and I'm surprised that not more people are not joining into the chat. And it's kind of unfortunate because I feel like everyone's missing out on this information. And I kept thinking, you had DirectD on your show not that long ago. And I thought that was great because then you can actually kind of bring from that audience as well. But I was thinking, so far, I've seen a lot of audits, like First Amendment audits in state buildings. And we just had an auditor here recently, and there was a bunch of issues where he had to go to court. And I was curious, I've yet to see anyone review an audit. Like they have one attorneys checking and reviewing audits. And I thought that would be like, during these talks, it's, we're always focused on very specific things. And obviously you're trying to get something accomplished with, I believe it's the Ormond Beach case and
Yes.
so forth. But I was just thinking it would be so good if, maybe if on the side, if you just reviewed a couple of these audits where constitutional rights were violated, like in terms of these First Amendment auditors and so forth. And I think your voice would really, really help with that, because I have yet to see a constitutional attorney review an audit and post a reaction video.
So DirectD has been trying to get me to do that. With my Ormond Beach case, we just haven't had much time to super connect again on that thought. But I'll tell you what, if people start sending me fairly short, like 10, maybe 20-minute videos max of First Amendment audits and want my feedback, and I could start doing videos giving my feedback on how those audits are going and, whatever things to take away from that. I'm going to do my best to start doing that. It's been crazy hours I've been working on all these. I mean, the Ormond Beach case you mentioned, we literally have stuff pending at the magistrate court level, at the circuit court level, and at the Court of Appeals level all at the same time now. So it's like, it's mind blowing, but that is something that I could see myself doing, because I want to help people. I want more people to do it, and I want them to be successful in how they do it. And so if they could see how, what are the right ways to handle things, and what, what's not, and, where's the line where your rights are. And, we can kind of talk about some of those issues. I'd like to be able to help more people find the confidence to get into doing that. Yeah.
It's unfortunate too, because the majority of the audits I see, I feel like that they're trying to antagonize the officer just to get that reaction, to
Yes.
up the views and everything. But simultaneously, I remember what something DirectD said a while ago. He had said, it doesn't matter how we talk to them. The point is to test them with the way we talk to them. But sadly, I feel like now everyone's kind of taken that role and then just, screamed at officers, "Oh, you can't tell me what to do." It would just be nice to see someone to stand on a corner and not say a word.
Yeah.
Like, test the officer that way, just silence, pure silence. Just stand there with the camera and let them cuff you.
And Palm Beach, what was his Palm Beach Press? What? You know who I'm talking about. Amanda's, anyway. Yeah, so I think it's maybe Palm Beach Free Press. I can't remember. Anyway, that's what he was doing, and he ended up getting a whole criminal trial about that. And as far as I know, he's now in the appeal stages of that. And it's been a while since, I think I might have seen the video initially, but that situation was starting right at the time that my case with Ormond Beach was going on. And so I helped them a little bit at the beginning, kind of get through some of the turns to navigate. And I'd have to relook at it. But anyway, yeah, so to be able to review and say, hey, this was a good audit. This is a way you could do this and be successful and be respectful and, but do the job. And here's a way that's just antagonistic. It's not really serving any good purpose. And it's not really educating officers on our rights. And it's not getting them to see us more as people either. So, to be able to do that. So, yeah, I mean,
I feel like you have to mirror the behavior that you want to be treated, more or less. I know it sounds a little cliche, like treat people how you want to be treated.
Exactly.
Sincerely, like if you're expecting this amount of professionalism, why don't you be the measuring stick by being that professional, even though you really don't have to be? Just kind of, suck that in and just show them this is what I expect from you, and then let them kind of bury themselves with the reaction. One small question I did have while I had you, and I don't want to take up your time because I know you're probably going to have a lot of other callers. I was in a small situation recently where I had called in before about this, but the mother of my child was held in contempt for withholding our daughter. I brought that up to you last time. And after we went to court, the judge did find her in contempt, but he didn't punish her for any of it. He just gave me a single extra day rather than charging her with the crime of interference with custody, with perjury, and all these things. And I was so astonished that when they thought I did this, they put a warrant out for me.
Yeah.
But when it was the mother, it's very, very different. And I mentioned the Constitution, which your channel has been very helpful with, but I even mentioned the state's Constitution, where I'm like, neither parent can be judged based on their gender,
Yep.
based on their financial resources, and I listed it all off, and still I was met with, okay, well, she's losing a single day, and that's it. And it's, I mean, I was on the defensive for 6 months when they thought I did it.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, like, is there a remedy? Like, I mean, I hate to do like a case citation, but it's like, I'm astonished because I gave a very good argument in return. And so far, I feel like they're trying to use case law to silence my point.
Yeah. Well, they often do. So I guess the best you can do is be prepared to speak their language. So, because, you know, in my case with the magistrate, I had tons of statutes and the Constitution, state Constitution and US Constitution at the initial magistrate hearing. And I was like, the city can't do this, this, and this, and they can't do it in this way, and they have to follow these procedures. And he literally looked at me and he said, well, do you have any cases that show that other, you know, district court of appeals have done that or have, you know, enforced it? And I'm going, I shouldn't have to. It's a statute. Is it not a law because the legislature enacted it? Do we have to wait for the court to have a case about it? Because basically what he's saying is we have to wait for somebody to screw up in government for there to be an appeal on the issue that makes it in front of a court of appeal. So at any rate, once he said that, though, then I got more into the cases with the last appeal. And now this one, I have lots of cases. And so my motion for costs that I mentioned earlier in the show that I had to file in front of him, I mean, that whole thing is just full of case after case after case after case after case. Because I'm like, okay, fine. If that's the language you want to speak, I'm going to speak that language. And so even talking about what the court rule is that gives me the cost, I went and I found cases that quote the rule and then give it that whatever he's looking for. So my best advice on that is to do the best you can. If you're finding yourself in a court in front of a judge who, you know, time after time is just going to give you that hard time about, you know, the cases, then be ready to throw cases back at them. And you always can look to the US Supreme Court and then look to your state's own Supreme Court. Those are going to be the best two places to start. And like I was telling the other caller, start with Google Scholar and you can narrow down cases there and just, you know, just be ready as best you can with cases that can help your point.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I mean, I personally hate Google. I think it's like the big brother search engine.
It
so
is.
I try to use every alternative there is because I feel like they're filtering out crucial information and like everything you really want is in the back. So
it might be, but I haven't. I could be wrong, but I haven't found scholar.google.com to be the same as like an open Google search. So okay. I could be wrong, but I'm also, you know, I'm on a shoestring budget. So I understand that a lot of people like yourself might be on a shoestring budget. And if you have the ability to, you know, like go to a law library and have free access to Westlaw or something like that, I mean, I suggest go for it, use that. But a lot of people don't.
A lot of time at the law library, and I've learned quite a bit, but it's just it's so unrealistic to expect. I mean, look at the level of rules there are, and you're expecting the average person off the road to just sit there and decipher all this now in their language, and then go in there and pitch this correctly and following procedure. It's like you have to have 7 years of law school in a matter of weeks. It's a lot to take on just for the average person.
It is. Yep. And yep. And had my constitutional amendment been passed in Michigan in 2022 is the ballot it would have been on, then it would have obliterated that. Totally obliterated all the layers of law that people have to follow, because quite frankly, no judge and no attorney knows what all the laws are. They can't keep up on every single court rule, internal operating procedures of court, local court rules, state court rules, federal court rules, cases, statutes, and all the, administrative rules and procedures. No attorney, no judge in any state, any part of the country can keep up on it. And yet, ignorance of the law is no excuse for us mere mortals and citizens. I mean, yeah. So,
such a double standard.
100%. And when they don't follow the law, when the government officials, when the city attorneys and the prosecutors and all the, those people, when the government doesn't follow the law, where's their consequences? There's no consequences for them.
Exactly. And then qualified immunity. I mean, I keep hearing abolish qualified immunity. And for a while, I was like, I wouldn't jump that hard. But now, after seeing everything, I'm like, no, absolutely get rid of it. It's insane. Like, we're required, like you said, to know the law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Yet when a cop, I just saw an officer today that got fired for dragging an 18-year-old girl out on the ground, throwing her to the concrete when she had her ID in her hand. And he's like, way too much force. He didn't even give her the chance to really hand over the ID, and he was fired. And it was all because people, standing together finally on this issue, and making sure that officers are held accountable. So,
yeah.
And anywho, I don't want to take up your time. I just wanted to throw that idea out there for, if you ever think about reviewing audits, I think it would actually help with, getting more clicks. I think people would be really interested in that. And I think that would, like you said, you're on a shoestring budget. And I really hope some people plug in some donations.
Yes, I really hope so too. And if I could show this and have the donation link at the top of my screen at the same time, I would do that because that'd be a good segue. But I have to wait until I talk about why I have this comment on the screen first. So,
well, Catherine, thank you so much for everything. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. And like I said, even if you particularly have shorter 1A, videos, the First Amendment audit videos that you want me to start reviewing, I mean, go ahead and send them our way.
Do you have an email link and everything, and you prefer to have those sent there?
Yeah, that'd probably be the easiest. Contact at restorefreedomkh.com. But if you can't find that, that is also on the website somewhere. I forgot where we put it, if it's in the footer or if it's just on the Contact Us page, but contact at restorefreedomkh.com. Okay.
Awesome. Catherine, thank you so much for everything.
Yes, thank you. Have a great night.
You too. Have a blessed night.
All right, so before I can show any of the other stuff, the call-in number or anything like that, I wanted to comment on this. I had this on a second ago, but it was way too small for me to try to read. Oh, we got another caller calling in. Oh, we got two callers calling in, but I already answered the one. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, and what is your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Matt. My screen name is Splitting Rounds. I'm calling from Southern Michigan.
Oh, okay. Give me just a second. I want to explain why I have this comment on the screen, and then I'll proceed with your phone call. But I want to be able to get this comment off the screen. So everybody, the comment, if you can't see the screen very clearly, maybe you're viewing on a phone and it's kind of tiny, but it says you need a jury-friendly video. And it's just I had it on there and then I took it off and I had somebody else's comment showing for a minute and then I had to put it back on because it's just a great comment. That's exactly right. Even if you don't believe in the whole golden rule and treating other people the way you want to be treated, think of it this way. If you want to do any kind of auditing, and you want to be out there making change and affecting change and holding bad government officials accountable, then keep in mind, especially if you're doing it to cops, you are going to be very likely targeted for being arrested yourself. And if that's the case, you want a jury-friendly video where you could show you did not violate a single law. You did everything the best you could to be doing that job, but doing it orderly and not to even get so much as a disorderly conduct charge. So anyway, just a great comment. I love that. And all right. So with that being said, Matt from Southern Michigan, what were you calling about today?
Well, I'm a farmer. We're farm country down here, and My family's been farming here for about 3 generations. Last election cycle, I started pointing out that it seemed that there was money that was missing from the village budget. And I accused the old village administrator of embezzlement and also our local police department of covering it up and running top cover for the operation. I didn't have any evidence or proof of it. They accused me of terroristic charges and told me that I wasn't allowed in any more public buildings. I lost the election by only 50 votes, like really, really close. Since then, they changed my properties from agricultural to residential and mowed down all my crops. They've destroyed my businesses. I've been in court for almost 2 years now. It's cost me tens of thousands of dollars. I'm almost broke. It's pretty awesome stuff.
Oh, and what community is this in?
What was that?
What community is this in?
Lenawee County.
Okay. Give me the nearest big city. I can't think of where that is.
I'm kind of centrally located between Ann Arbor, Detroit, and Toledo, Ohio.
Oh, okay. Okay. So from my perspective, when we lived over in Hudsonville, I would just probably call that Detroit. So you're from Detroit.
Yeah.
Good to know. So that's and that was just my curiosity. If I knew of anything, I don't know. Sometimes depending on location, I have different resources that might pop in my head, but that's insane. I mean, it's totally believable because
it gets better if you want me to keep going.
Well, let me ask you this before I just continue with my, astonishment and shock and awe. Is there a particular question that I need to be listening for in there? Is there something that I need to help, steer you in the right direction?
I really need an attorney that's very motivated and knowledgeable in local ordinance enforcement and law, and that knows the local judge and system.
Oh.
Right now, my case is with Judge Morgan.
Well,
I don't know if you know him. He's a pretty new judge.
I don't.
Outside of your,
Yeah, and I didn't ever practice way down there. So, I mean, my practice opened in Midland, north of you. And then when I married this schlub sitting next to me, then he dragged me to the middle of nowhere in Ionia County. And then we most recently were in Ottawa County. But,
okay.
And I was born in the UP. So, I mean, I'm kind of from all over Michigan, but I don't have any connections or ties legally to your area. So as far as a good attorney who knows, the ins and outs of that particular area, that's smart thinking, but I don't know personally who to refer you to. I guess, and what specific, I mean, it sounds like you've talked about election stuff. You've talked about, property ownership and zoning issues. You've talked about perhaps even some eminent domain. You've talked, or maybe forfeiture. I'm not sure what happened that they did that to the crops. You've talked about some criminal stuff. So what type of law is it that you're struggling the most with right now that you need representation for?
The ordinance enforcement, because once they changed my properties from agricultural to residential, they then said you have to abide by all the local residential ordinances. And one of those is the ordinance for nuisance weeds and noxious weeds.
Yep.
And also there's an ordinance that you have to maintain everything mowed under 12 inches.
So are you still, when was it that they changed the zoning?
A couple months after I lost my election.
But when was that?
Almost 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago.
Oh, let's see.
And it was December after the last election, so what? 2023 maybe? December?
So depending on what's going on there might be a takings issue, eminent domain type of issue. You might want
That's
to.
what my mom keeps saying. But my mom and my dad are both attorneys, and she keeps bringing up that this is an unlawful taking for takings.
So I don't know off the top of my head. I don't have all the Michigan statute of limitations stuff memorized. I'm sure it's changed even since last time I had a good chunk of it memorized. So you'll want to take a look at that. But if it isn't already run, if the statute of limitations hasn't already run for you to do something about that, you should jump on that right away, because it probably is a fairly short time period. Because it's not just your rights that would be impacted, it would be those of the, the neighboring properties and that kind of thing, right? So, so you should definitely look into that. And then at the same time, be looking into the local code enforcement types of issues. But when it comes to the zoning changes, I don't know that you're really that part of it. You don't have to lock yourself into an attorney that knows the local court system, because, there's a chance that no matter what result you get at the local level, that either you or the municipality is going to appeal it to the next level. So I would say it's a very good chance. In which case, if you had somebody that could stick with you from one level to the next as the case gets appealed, then you just have a better shot of the continuity of representation and of there being something that is a really good argument. If you have somebody that can handle appeals, also doing the trial aspect of that kind of a case, then they're going to be in the best position to do that, because they're going to run the trial in a way that even if you lose at that trial court level, that you're setting yourself up to be golden for an appeal, if that makes sense. When you have attorneys, for most of my career, I never touched appeals. I mean, quite frankly, I could be wrong, but I want to say it's the beginning of right before COVID began, in the early part of 2020, that I ever worked on my first appeal of anything. Because it's a scary thing, and most attorneys don't touch appeals at all. And no, I guess it probably would have been a couple of years before that I started with appeals. But at any rate, it wasn't, it wasn't for very long before COVID. And so I always talked with clients about, I'm going to do the best I can here. And I would start to go to appeals seminars to kind of get my thoughts about how do I need to raise arguments, or how do I need to present evidence at the trial court level in order to preserve those issues, and we're not screwing things up for a potential appeal that might need to be made. But just keep that in mind. So if I were you, I'd look for an attorney who can handle appeals, who's good with property rights. And maybe that's the start to it.
Okay.
And, so there's different ways. I mean, you can look in the phone book for attorneys that do appeals work. That wouldn't be a bad idea, but a lot of attorneys have kind of gotten away from phone book advertising. You could look at the state bar website.
How do you... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
How do you feel about going down to the U of M law school? That's where my mom graduated from. And she said that they have a pretty good program where the law students will help you work on, tough or interesting cases. And they can also link you up with really good attorneys in your area.
I don't know
anything. Do you think that'd be a good...
Yeah, I don't know anything particularly about that one. I mean, that's kind of along the lines of, if you happen to hear the 2 callers ago, and we had the caller from Arizona, I was suggesting that she actually reach out to a law school and see what kind of clinical work they might be doing to help people in situations that are representing themselves, and things like that. Or maybe they'd be able to, provide representation or help to find representation. I don't know about their program. And in theory, I know University of Michigan thinks everything about itself is awesome, and everybody that ever went there thinks it's all awesome. My mom's a huge U of M football fan, but even though she went to Tech, Michigan Tech, but they don't really have a football team to speak of. So anyway, I went to law school in Minnesota, and the clinical program at the school that I went to was really great. But even now, I don't know if the same professors are running it or if it's being run the same way or the caliber of students. So it's definitely something to look into, but don't put all your eggs into that basket. I would maybe reach out and see what you can do with that at the same time that you are contacting, looking at the list of appellate attorneys that cross references with, once you have a good solid list of appellate attorneys, then start doing some individual research. And if you go to the state bar, then oftentimes you'll have links right to, they'll say other kinds of practice areas that they practice in. And then if not, then they usually at least have links to the attorney's websites and things like that. So anyway, then you just start researching. Go to the attorney's websites and see if they talk a lot about real estate or property rights or code enforcement or just, things like that. So appeals and those other terms of real estate and code enforcement and things like that. You want an attorney that has both, both aspects. But yeah, if you start researching that at the same time of trying to follow, some of those, and for that matter, maybe MSU. I mean, I don't know what the other law schools in Michigan are, because I didn't go to law school there, but, check out all of them and see, which ones might be able to have a clinical program that could assist you for sure.
I've been in close contact with MSU and also with the Michigan director of the agricultural department, the MDARD.
Okay.
MDARD's actually been out to my property and evaluated all my agricultural practices and everything. They found absolutely nothing wrong with anything I was doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So they might, and yeah, now that you say that, there's a lot of ag stuff, and maybe that's something too. Maybe you want to find an attorney that actually focuses on agricultural, litigation. That'd be another search.
I've contacted the Michigan State Farm Bureau, not the insurance company, like the Farm Bureau that represents farmers in Michigan.
Okay.
And they came out and checked out the property, and they said for their resources, they have limited resources. And because this was right on the edge of town, and this is one of those gray zones, it wasn't going to be a good candidate for them to get behind and support. But I have talked to some of their attorneys, and they're really, really good. And if I went that route, if I thought that was a winnable route, I'd hire one of those guys. The attorney that I have now decided to go on a route of cowardice and, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
he literally gave away the farm.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. A lot of attorneys do that, especially when they feel like they're getting in farther and farther over their head than what they thought they would be. That's unfortunate. But I would, here's the thing that I found. If you find attorneys, law firms, or better yet, just organizations that maybe normally fight, and this is not just for you, but anybody out there that's listening, if you have a particular issue, maybe it's a prisoner's rights issue, maybe it's a farmer's rights issue, maybe it's whatever it is, right? And you have an organization that normally stands behind those issues, but they somehow, for whatever reason, they feel like they can't. Sorry, I'm going to sneeze. Maybe I'm not. Okay. I talked about it, so now it's giving me a hard time. But anyway, so if they're not able to get behind you on your particular case and help out and be the main force behind it, keep them in mind and keep in contact with them. Once you find an attorney or decide to do your own case, maybe they can just participate as an amicus and file, briefs or documents in support of, a particular issue that you're fighting in that case. And then they don't have the obligation to you as a client, but they could still fight for that particular issue that's of importance to their clients or their members or whatever. So make sure you keep that in mind too. And I want to say,
you're a smart woman. That's what the lead counsel for Farm Bureau said. Pretty much word for word.
I was just gonna say I would contact with Farm Bureau because I think that would be a good thing. So anyway, So hopefully that gives you kind of some pointers, you know, some ideas and some answers. I mean, I wish I just had a name that I could pull out of a hat and say, hey, this is a really great Michigan attorney that could do XYZ, but unfortunately I don't. So
yeah. Hey, we all hope for the magic shot that's going to cure everything. Do you want me to leave you with the end of this story and the rest of Rage Bait?
Sure.
It's not really pertinent, but you know.
Okay.
They part of the stipulated agreement that we had come to was that I would pay a $50 fine, and the village would neither would agree not to persecute, whatever, me anymore, and that that I was not. They would agree that I was not in violation. I don't know how that mixes with the fact that I had to pay the fine, but anyway. Before that was even filed, never even filed. Nobody signed nothing. It wasn't even filed. We still haven't agreed on the stipulations. Somehow that the paperwork got filed, and they said that I was served with a notice to pay a fine. Never was. They don't have any proof. It was never delivered here. There's no proof of service or anything. They put out a bench warrant for my arrested me, and maybe sit in jail for the weekend.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yep.
That's awful. I'm so disgusted.
Oh. The village administrator that I accused of embezzlement, she's actually in jail right now. She did, in fact, embezzle tens of thousands. I think it was like $60,000. And they found out that the police department was, in fact, running top cover for the embezzlement operation. But they decided not to let the police chief go. So.
Oh, wow.
Fun stuff.
Sounds like a fabulous, community. Dang. Well, I'm sorry that
that's why I decided to run for village president. Somebody's got to make changes and,
yes,
fix things.
And I encourage you to try it again, to support others that are running for similar things. Maybe there's a block, of individuals that love freedom, that want to join in and run as a slate for, treasurer and village president and whatever, the other positions are that may be coming up in the next election. Definitely don't give up. For sure.
Definitely. I already have filled out my election paperwork. It's turned in. I am actually running with 3 other people to replace, not only the village president, but the maximum 3 of the village council. And I can't walk down the street without people stopping me, saying they're sorry, asking how I'm doing, if there's anything they can, my family's been here for over 100 years. Everybody knows my family, and everybody is just aghast at what's happened.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let me know. I want to know how the election goes and how things go on, if you're able to get connected with some good attorneys to get things rolling and get some good amicus briefs written on things for you. I'd love to hear more. So please make sure to check back.
Yeah, for sure. I'll keep you in touch. Thanks for all the information. I appreciate it.
Yes, have a wonderful
night. I
hope
the story was entertaining.
It was. All right. Have a good night.
Hey, you too. Bye.
All right, guys. So that 325 caller, you called both times right after I had just answered the other call, and it doesn't let me. I can't put you in the queue or anything like that. Let me switch here. 325 caller, if you can give me a call back, be the first one to call me right now. That would be great, and we can get you on there. I'm just going to go back to the chat. Oh, am I frozen? Okay, it looked like I was frozen for a minute. I can't. My contacts are really blurry here. So let's see. Oh, 325. Here we go. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can unmute my TV while I'm watching you on.
Okay. All right.
So we don't have no backflow.
Right.
So I'm in Texas, and I am concerned of our legislature following suit of the federal law passed to 25 feet of filming away from the cops. So my question would be, we add the First Amendment, obviously, of the federal Constitution, the Florida Constitution, and the standing, I would think, it's unreasonable to be able to hear and clearly watch for news and educational purposes.
So I'm hard of hearing. I'm gonna ask my husband. I didn't catch enough to hear what the question was, but instead of having you repeat all that, because I feel like it was probably clear and it's just my hearing. Did you catch what the question was?
No, I thought something very interesting that you're going to have to look at later.
Okay, but now I have to ask this person to repeat their question. So you have to.
I'll pay attention.
Yeah, pay attention. Okay, so he's going to pay attention now. I'm going to have you repeat it one more time so I can make sure that I get it. And hopefully if I don't, then now he's paying attention so he can help me. But anyway, okay, so can you please try to repeat your question for me?
Alrighty, I'm going to speak up as well. In Texas, I am concerned our legislature may follow suit of the federal, or not federal, but Florida, passing a law of 25 feet from the cop watching. And I'm thinking, and maybe I'm incorrect, but we should add the federal constitution as the state constitution, the First Amendment, and be able to stand on its unreasonable, since we cannot hear the conversation and record the conversations between the people and the officer.
Yeah, so I actually only briefly heard about that law passing here in Florida recently. And I actually didn't hear what the final status was. So it's possible that, as you're saying, that it's signed, Governor DeSantis signed it, it's a done deal, and I just don't know about it. But that would be, there's obviously some reasons, right, that we want, when there's a cop responding to a situation, that we want there to be some level of, bystanders not immediately, in the vicinity and inserting themselves in situations. So one aspect is, of course, the concern for the person that, made the call, or perhaps that's getting arrested or whatever, that they don't know what the intentions are of the people that are there. If they're there, as a First Amendment under that just loves to protect, citizens' rights. I mean, they don't know that. They don't know. Maybe they're thinking this person's just going to throw me on their TikTok channel and make fun of me all night for whatever I'm getting in trouble for, or getting arrested for, whatever. Or maybe it's just a bad situation where, there's a victim of a crime who's, the cops have come up to for whatever reason, and then it's like a very personal issue, and they're like, what the heck is all this, and it might make them shut down and not really seek that assistance from law enforcement after all. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons that for a person who has perhaps been the one to make the call, or just is on the receiving end of something that cops are following up on, why you have some privacy things going on. Because of course, once a video is out on the internet, it's out on the internet, right? And so whether somebody actually did do something wrong or not, for example, there could be concern that, gosh, there's the allegation that I did this, and this, and, and there's a video out there of me getting arrested, and it's going to prohibit me from getting a job in the future, or whatever the situation is. You also have, and trust me, I'm not like a thin blue line supporter anymore like I was, but there is a common sense element that, as we saw, especially when 2020 was unfolding, right? We saw the BLM riots and things like that, and we saw a lot of cops being attacked physically, and we know there's two sides of that story, right? So there are actually good cops out there, and there's cops that are getting violently attacked in ways that are totally unjustifiable. It's not just self-defense from someone and that kind of thing. And so when you have somebody, an officer who's responding to a situation, and there's already potentially something life-threatening or something, that's a serious nature that they have to deal with, and then they're like, well, what's this other, is this somebody involved, like what's going on? It does become overwhelming. And I would be most concerned that our number one goal should be making sure that the cops are not violating the rights of those that they're serving, right? Whether it's a victim or whether it's, the person accused of crime, that they're serving and protecting the way that they're supposed to be. So sometimes we, obviously those with the best of intentions, who, are good at out there, being out there doing First Amendment audits, are going to do so in a way that's very, it's diffusing of any kind of, like James Madison audits, right? He used to be a cop. And so he understands how cops think, and he knows what their procedures are. And he doesn't go out there trying to rile people up, but he's also not going to take their shit either, right? So anyway, so you have all that, which isn't exactly what your question was, but I'm saying that I get there's a reason why we want some sort of space, right? But at the same time, how can you do a true First Amendment audit of something happening right then and there, something's going down right then and there? How can you ensure that somebody's rights are not being violated, if that's, the point of your First Amendment audits, if you're having to stay so far away that you can't hear anything, that there's no audio, that the video is too small, or, and so forth and so forth. So, yeah, I don't know what the best way to do, to really address the concern that you have about it happening in Texas, having happened in Florida. What I would do, though, what I would strongly suggest all of you doing is perhaps go back later on and listen to this part where, an hour and 10 minutes in right now, that we think about really what are all the reasons why they put those laws into place, and then really reach out to state legislators and your governor's office, and whoever you can that would be the decision makers of potentially doing this in your own state or your own community, putting those kinds of things in place. Reach out to them and let them know, listen, we definitely realize the cops have a job to do, but there's a reason why we're doing what we're doing. And so if you acknowledge what their concerns are and try to figure out ways that you can, those concerns can be alleviated. Obviously most states already have charges, crimes for interfering with an actual investigation. If you're physically interfering and stopping them physically from doing the job, or, whatever the case may be, if you're making a situation physically more dangerous for whatever reason. I can't think of any good examples, but there's some obvious things that I would think every single state already has laws on the books for, because there's already way too many laws to begin with. But maybe finding what those laws are in your state and saying, look, my state rep, here, my senator, we understand that you're looking at possibly passing this law, and we understand here's the main concerns. And I would do as much as you can to use bullet pointing, right? Make it visual, there's going to be a lot of information, but make it easy to see visually and understand and grasp, and say, we understand that you have this potential issue that's going to come across your desk that you're going to be wanting to possibly pass a bill on. We understand why. Here's this, and this are the main concerns, but here's the reasons why we do what we do. And look at what the law is. There's already laws. This law, this law, this law, and this law are already on the books. And these are the laws that can already stop those concerns that you're worried about, what you're really worried about happening. These are laws already on the books that protect those interests. And so you don't need to make yet another law that just serves to put a cushion around the police at the expense of not only First Amendment rights of the citizenry in the media in general, but also of the potential, the victims or potential criminals, those being accused of crimes. Their rights are at risk even more so, because we're making sure that the cops are further shielded from the eyes of truth and justice being able to see what they're doing. And that's not okay. So having that rational, calm, thought out kind of, very bullet pointed, very, strategic layout of a communication that you could send out to your state rep, send out to your senator, make phone calls to your governor's office, you know, whoever that, you know, get all your friends and family in on that, and make sure it's worded well, and understandable, and maybe even ask somebody who thinks it's a good idea that they're doing that. If you have a cop friend or somebody in the family who's been in law enforcement or something like that, to say, listen, I understand that you probably agree with having this law in place. I want to see if you think I've really encapsulated what the concerns are and why you think that law is a good law, because I don't, but I want us to work towards a good common, you know, solution here. Does that kind of give you some direction of what you were looking for, or did I kind of miss even then what your question was?
Well, no, you pretty well cleared it. I would just, you know, for the watchers out there in general, if they want to contest of the 25-foot law, because, you know, as well as you know, that most officers actually mute when they have a meeting. And so far, it's only city ordinance, county ordinance. It's not really state law of the body cam itself. And I think a lot of our issues is the muting part. And there's a lot of, well, you can't use it in court.
Yeah.
But if it was me, I can actually use my evidence against them.
Yes.
And we got to have a reasonable expectation of the frame of which side of that line we need to be. I'm fine with 10 foot, maybe a little bit plus, because, you know, we don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars equipment
Right.
that can hear, you know, 200 feet away and be able to detect a volume. You
Right.
know, so it has to be reasonable with like the average people with cell phones.
Yeah.
So even if the legislators or the officers or court watchers, if they actually map out the footage, that could be a compromise of maybe 12 foot that could still both parties see.
Yeah. Yeah, actually,
within reason.
You bring up a good point, because maybe you could get some research on that with what a standard phone is available to do with the video recording these days, as far as the audio that it captures and the video that it captures. If you could get some statistics about that and say, you know, this is what the standard, you know, the industry standard is with technology these days. And, you know, for the average phones, not like the super most expensive pro version of this or pro version of that or whatever, but, you know, the average phone is able to capture decent audio and decent video at X number of feet, with people speaking at a normal, you know, talking voice. And that's, you know, so at least right at that. So if it is, you know, 10 feet, then you'd have to be, you know, no farther than 10 feet. So something like that, you know what I mean? That you know, maybe within a foot of what the average is or something. So you have some sort of compromise there where you're saying, you know, yeah, I don't need to be right on top of them, but in order to make sure that the officer's life is not, you know, unduly put at risk, and that the citizen is not having their rights compromised, I need to be able to do this job and be able to, you know, be close enough to accomplish its purposes. So maybe that's something that you or others could work on. I mean, that's definitely out of my wheelhouse of research and knowledge, but that, I think that would be a strong point to talk about, where it's no longer theoretical. You bring the data and show them and put that as part of your, you know, your presentation.
Yeah, because I didn't read the whole statute, but my other opposition on there, I did not see anywhere where the officer could not apply the 25-foot rule while you're filming him while you're pulled over. So the officer can, and again, I have not read all the way through the statute. There may be leniencies in there, but I could not find it. That once the officer pulls you over, he walks up to your door, according to the law now, that the 25 foot is still in play, and you can't even record the officer while you pulled over.
That's interesting. Can you make a note for us to pull up that statute? I'd have to look up the statute. I haven't read it yet. I just briefly heard about it from somebody recently. But I would, yeah, that would be a huge violation if you're no longer talking about the rights of others, like the right to privacy or potential expectation of privacy or whatever the case may be. You know, tainting a possible jury pool or all the concerns that might come out where if you're recording basically a stranger. If you're recording your own situation, I have one of those myself, and I have a couple of those. One ended up in an illegal arrest and one didn't. But yeah, I would definitely think that, I mean, if they don't want to be recorded, they can just not pull you over. I mean, if that's what their concern is, but that's, I mean, I don't care about their feelings. This isn't about protecting them being on camera. So, yeah, we'd have to look at what goes into that and some common sense stuff, because absolutely you have a right to, you know, to protect yourself, to have eyes on that, to be able to, you know, have the other side to that. So that's interesting.
Yeah,
so,
because if I get pulled over, I'm doing investigation on them as well as they're doing investigation on me.
right.
You know, because I want to be able to protect myself by any means necessary. You know, and if that goes through paperwork and this, that, here, and there, that's still a protection. And I'm investigating what the officer did to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and someone says the Florida statute doesn't take effect until January 25th or January 2025. I don't know. Either way, that's what somebody is saying in the chat here. And they said that there's a Indiana law currently in effect about that. So still, I'm hoping Mike's.
So it is Freddie.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely something I'll look into, and yeah, hopefully I have enough time sometime soon that I can maybe even do a little video just about that. But yeah, I mean, I would hands down say, you know, you should be wearing a GoPro or have a phone that's always recording or whatever, you know, with you, with any interactions with the government in any way. But yeah.
Agreed.
All right. Well, hopefully I was able to help you out, and we appreciate you calling. And let me know, call back if you end up getting some headway with talking with your legislators and trying to, you know, steer them in the course of freedom on that issue. I'd love to hear about it.
Oh, and while we're at this on this one particular subject, that would still be under press. So if people decide to challenge this or do a petition with their legislature, they should look up cases under the you know, the Supreme Courts and local courts under the press, you know, like Fox News versus, you know, something.
Yeah.
You know, and have that extended into your petition
Yeah.
to the government, and maybe get the 25-foot overruled, because I think that's number one, overbroad. It's absolute, vague, and ambiguous. And I think the distance still needs to be reasonable, more reasonable for the people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There should be challenges in the states that already have something in effect or you know, getting ready to be put into effect. There should be legal challenges there. And then definitely there should be some work to lobby legislators in other states that are talking about putting something into effect. But even in the states that already have those things into effect, there's nothing that stops the legislators from bringing the issue back up and changing or totally rescinding that law. So yeah, work on all aspects should be done for sure. Yeah.
But we definitely need to do it sooner than later.
Yes, sooner than later. Absolutely. Yes.
Nip it in the detox.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for calling in, and we'll look forward to hearing an update at some point on this.
Thank you.
Yes. Have a great night.
Good night.
All right, guys. So I'm going to show you one more time that website. restorefreedomkh.com/obcase. That's where you can find all kinds of information about the case that I've been talking about and what we're going through. But use the documents that are there. Use the examples of the motions and the petitions and the appeals documents and this and that, all that kind of stuff. Whatever I put on there, use those as examples. If it's the ones that I wrote, if I put on there the ones the City of Ormond Beach wrote, I wouldn't use those as examples. But anyway, use the stuff on there for all the different legal arguments, constitutional arguments. There's tons of stuff in there that you could easily translate into your own freedom fight, your own case, whether it's a civil or criminal case. There's lots of stuff that you can use to help you in your own fight. So also, as one of the callers mentioned, I wanted to put this on, but the thing doesn't let me show two things at once. Anyway, restorefreedomkh.com/donate. That is a great way to be able to keep this work going, because it costs money for me to do the streaming. It costs money for me to send the weekly newsletter out. It costs money for me to, be able to have research materials, to be able to keep in the know so I can turn around and pump out more information to you guys, and to file amicus briefs or file my own cases or whatever the case may be. So please consider helping us that way. restorefreedomkh.com/donate is where you can go to donate. You could donate to something specific, or you could just donate to the general fund of doing this work. Also, if you are interested in our beautiful pop sockets, so it's not going to show, wait, there we go. Pop sockets, look at that. More freedom, less government. Restore freedom. Beautiful pop sockets, or the window clings, anything like that. We have them super cheap because it's just at our cost, what it's going to cost that we had out of pocket in paying for those items, and then what it's going to cost for us to turn around and mail them to you. Please go ahead and consider doing that. You can find that. I don't have the pre-typed up link, but it's restorefreedomkh.com/shop. Super hard to remember, right? But you could just go to our main website too for any of that and find the ways to click around and link and do all that fun stuff. So with that being said, of course, the chat totally disappeared on me, and I don't know what it's doing. Oh, look, it finally got rid of them all after years of causing me problems. Okay. It had messages that were over on top of things. But all right. So if there were questions, I was trying to keep up on the chat, but you guys had a great chat amongst yourselves tonight. And a lot of the chat in there was back and forth between you guys. So if there was a question buried in there that was for me that I did not cover, I apologize. Check back when we do our next show, the second Tuesday of next month at noon. So this is the 7 p.m. show. We do this the fourth Tuesday of the month. And then the second Tuesday of the month, we do it at noon. So we could try to reach both sets of audiences, the earlier in the day and the after typical work hours people as well. So check back for that. And if you guys have short First Amendment audit videos that you want me to start doing reviews on, like I said, shorter ones. So I'm not doing a ton of editing and trying to figure out what's going on in them. By all means, send them. You can send them to contact@restorefreedomkh.com, contact@restorefreedomkh.com. And I don't have pre-written here. I just got a big message. I don't know if it's okay. So somebody was talking about, Lori's trying to tell me that there's something that came in where there was a case where the judge in Indiana points out that the plaintiff was just asking the wrong question. The case can be overcome. So that's good to know. There's all kinds of different ways to try to beat what's being done wrong, right? So anyway, as far as the audit videos go, if you guys want me to start reviewing some First Amendment auditing videos, I'm happy to do that. Just send them to, send me the link or send me the video itself to contact@restorefreedomkh.com, and I'll see what I can do to get those rolling. But I appreciate all of you calling in and joining us in the chat today. And I look forward to, oh, my phone's already blowing up. So somebody's sending me something. Anyway, but I appreciate you all joining us tonight. And I wish you a wonderful evening. And I guess with that, I will just see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks, guys. Our work to restore freedom would not be possible without support from people just like you. From the various software and hardware needed to the legal research materials, every dollar you can donate helps. Make sure to like and share this video too. And remember to follow and subscribe and click that notification button. Together, we can restore freedom.